Cannabis Science Pub. Tonight's event is focused on cannabis extracts, and I'm pretty excited about the presenters that I have here to speak for you today. So for those of you that haven't been to the Cannabis Science Pub yet, the Cannabis Science Pub is a free, as you noticed, monthly educational series on the science of cannabis hosted by OG Analytical. The whole purpose of us putting together the Cannabis Science Pub was really just to bridge the gap between the know and the desire to know. Each session will start off with some trivia. We'll give you an opportunity to exercise the knowledge you already have. You can earn prizes. We'll have guest speakers. We'll do OGA educational presentations to share some things that we have learned through our work with you. And then we'll close it off with some networking. I've also recently added Emerald Trade Alliance to our standard bill, though they will be here every month giving us a legislative update. There's so many things happening at the state level as far as regulatory changes are concerned. I think it's pretty important to keep everyone up to date on what those changes are. So you are aware, we have Cannabis Science Pub branded pint glasses available for sale at the OG Analytical table back here. They're only $5 each. All the proceeds from the sale of these pint glasses go to helping us pay for the event so that we can keep it free for you. So take home a souvenir and enjoy. For those of you who aren't familiar with OG Analytical, we are a quality assurance laboratory based here in Eugene that specializes in the cannabis industry. So we do compliance testing, we do regulatory testing to help people get cannabis products onto the market, and we also do product development services. So if you're looking at developing a new product to take to market, we can help you with that too. Or if you're growing your new 4 plants in your backyard and you're wondering how they turned out, we can tell you the potency value too. The whole baseline here is that we learn a lot in our daily work and what we do. We gather a lot of data, and we want to share that data with you. We also have some pretty amazing connections with other people in the industry who are also gathering amazing data that can share it with you as well. So we want to bring all those people and all that information to one place where you can come and see it in person. You'll notice that there are surveys and pencils on your tables. We also, for those of you sitting in the chairs, we also have some more at the OG Analytical table back there. Please take a moment to fill that out before you go. We want to know how we're doing here. We want to see what we can do to make it better. We want to hear recommendations for content. So again, take a moment to fill that out before you leave. We'd really appreciate it. One thing that we have learned from our surveys, thank you to those of you who have filled them out from previous Cannabis Science Pubs, is that our content was running a little bit long. So we've shortened it up a little bit. Rather than having 4 or 5 presenters, we have 3 presenters today. That will leave some time for networking at the end, and hopefully that goes a little better for you. So our agenda for tonight, obviously we're going to start with the pub trivia, and then we're going to have our guest speakers talk. I have 2 really amazing gentlemen speaking for you tonight. Timothy Ruppel works for Perkin-Elmer. Perkin-Elmer is one of the lead manufacturers in analytical instrumentation. They were the pioneers in developing headspace analyzers, and headspace is what we use for testing residual solvents in cannabis extracts. So that's how we determine how much butane is left over in your extract products, for example. It's also a really, it gives us a lot more ability to see volatile compounds like terpenes. So since we added our Perkin-Elmer Headspace Analyzer unit, we've been able to expand our terpene profile from 8 compounds to now 37. During our last Science Pub, I told you we'd increased it to 21. Well, it's up to 37 now. So, and our residual solvent testing has gone through the roof too. Tim is He is the only person that I know that's been doing any sort of research around residual solvents in cannabis. So I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here in person today. He's at another business meeting in Chicago, so he's going to be calling in. We're going to be doing a remote webcast for his presentation. But it's going to be good information, so I'm excited that he's willing to do it, whether he's here in person or not. And then after Tim, I have Dr. Jeff Raber from the workshop, who came all the way from Southern California to give us a presentation on the chemical process of extracts. And then I have our own very own lab director, Dr. Roger Volker, who's going to be giving you some more information tonight about how pesticides extract when you are extracting cannabinoids for your concentrated products. And then we'll conclude with our legislative update from the Emerald Trade Alliance, and then hopefully we'll have some time for networking if we don't go over too much. All right. So I have 3 different sponsors for our trivia questions tonight. This is growing. By the way, if you have a company and you want to get your name up here on this board and you want to sponsor a trivia question, we do offer you the opportunity. Sponsoring trivia questions is as simple as offering something up for a prize for trivia and giving me your logo. Pretty simple. If you come up with a trivia question too, that's a bonus for me. So the first one is sponsored by Industrial Source. They have donated some growlers and thermoses, amazing thermoses. Keep your coffee hot all day long. And they're large enough to support almost your whole entire trim crew. So Industrial Source is a gas supplier here in town. If you are an extraction company and you haven't talked to Industrial Source about your compressed gases, you should do so. The first trivia question is, what is the appropriate way to store compressed gas cylinders? In the back. Yep, that's one, and I'll take it. Secured in an upright position. OSHA requires that they be strapped down in an upright position. They also require that they be stored in a well-ventilated and dry area and at least 20 feet away from combustible materials like oil. So we have a couple of prizes for you to pick from back there. You can grab either a growler or a thermos. This is an interesting one. We go into extraction facilities every now and again, and we see people have their compressed gas cylinders just sitting there. Can be kind of dangerous. So that kind of leads into the next one. What's the importance of securing compressed gas cylinders? Anybody know what the important is? And what can happen if the top comes off, if the vent cap breaks? A cylinder can become a dangerous flying or spinning projectile if the valve is damaged from a fall. I actually looked this up before tonight's Science Pub just to make sure that this claim was correct. And they did an episode of Mythbusters about this, and they blew the valve off of a compressed cylinder that was laying flat, and they put up a cement wall, and it went through, just punched a hole, like a little mouse hole, right through that brick wall, and then pounded into the second brick wall and dented that. Didn't quite go all the way through it, but it stopped there, so completely straight through a concrete wall. So if you're using compressed gas, make sure you strap it. So you have a prize over there as well. You can pick from a thermos or a growler. Thank you to Industrial Source. And the third one from Industrial Source, what is known by scientists as the universal solvent? Ooh, quick. Yep, nice one. H2O, water dissolves more substances than any other liquid, so it is considered a very efficient solvent. You have a prize for you up at the table. So we usually have Erica from Constant Gardener up here to do her trivia questions. Constant Gardener is a consistent sponsor of our trivia, but unfortunately Erica is sick tonight, so she couldn't be here. I'm going to be doing her trivia questions for her. Her first question is, which extraction technique utilizes absolutely no solvents? In the back there? Oh, sorry, say it again?
Ice wax, he said.
That's not actually what I'm looking for. That uses water as a solvent. Next. Rosin is correct. Rosin uses heat and pressure to extract a plant resin. Traditionally, rosin is derived from pine resin to create a cake of rosin, or hard resin, for violin maintenance. That's where it came from. So, Chris, you have some Constant Gardener prizes you can choose from at the table. When extracting cannabis, what happens to any pesticides present in or on the flower? This is one we've covered in previous science pubs. Yes, sir. Data shows that the pesticides also extract. Flowers with undetectable levels of pesticides prior to extraction may later red flag as pesticide levels concentrate. And you can see the data that backs this statement for this in the pesticide use on cannabis white paper that the Cannabis Safety Institute published. Dr. Volker, our lab director, was a big part of that paper. And that's available for download at the Cannabis Safety Institute website at www.cannabissafetyinstitute.org if you want more information. That paper includes a lot of really great data. A bottle of chemical pesticide says it has a 60-day persistence rate. Can I trust this recommendation on my indoor garden? And why not?
Because indoors is not the same as outdoors. There's no dissipation rate.
Nice. The answer is correct, no. Tolerances and persistent rates are established outdoors where sun, wind, and rain begin to degrade the chemicals at an exponentially higher rate than in a small indoor garden. Nice one. Is there a biological fungicide that can be safely sprayed for powdery mildew on mature cannabis flowers that are going in for lab testing? Another one sponsored by Constant Gardener. Is there a biological fungicide that can be safely sprayed for powdery mildew on mature cannabis flowers that are going in for lab testing? Nope. Not the answer she's looking for. I don't think that's the one she's looking for either. Any other thoughts? Erica says no. When you inoculate leaves and flowers with compost tea or any number of beneficial microbial products, it's possible under the current rules that the colonies will red flag on the yeast and mold test. And this is an interesting one because the current testing rules in Oregon require that we test for total yeast and mold count. It does not suggest that we need to differentiate between bad molds and good molds. So if we find good molds, even the beneficial microbials, that can throw your test and cause you to fail. That's an unfortunate part of the current rules, which will be changed when the new rules are implemented. And this is something that we have been discussing in the OLCC Rules Advisory Committee meeting for lab testing. So we can expect this to change in the very near future. And what we're expecting to come with the new rules, rather than total yeast and mold, is a test for Salmonella and E. coli, and then an optional test for Aspergillus. If you choose to test for Aspergillus, you will be exempt from a labeling requirement that says if you are immunocompromised, you should not smoke this product. So, optional. But the total yeast and mold is going away. We're not going to have to deal with this weirdness anymore. Name one of the many compounds found in synthetic fertilizers that can lower the medicinal value of cannabis flowers and extracts. Anyone? Name one of many compounds found in synthetic fertilizers that can lower the medicinal value of cannabis flowers and extracts. Salt? Let's see what Erica has to say. Heavy metals, plant growth regulators, and nitrates. I don't really know anything about synthetic fertilizers. That's not my area of expertise. We'll have to thank Erica for that one later. Okay, that was the last one from Constant Gardener. Thank you very much to Constant Gardener. Constant Gardener is a horticultural shop here in the Eugene area. They have 2 locations, one on West 11th, one on Laura and Springfield. If you're growing and you haven't visited them yet, they're a great resource for you. They know all about what's going on with the rules and can help make sure that you have a solid plan for growing products that will allow you to get your product onto the shelf at dispensaries. So this next question is sponsored by Critical Source. And so I actually reached out to Critical Source and asked them to help me out with some trivia questions for tonight. So the trivia prizes for this one are the Cannabis Science Pub pint glasses. Critical Source, if you're not familiar with them, they are a brand new company here in Eugene that offers CO2 extraction as a service. So if you have flower or trim material that you want to turn into CO2 oil, but you don't want to invest in the equipment necessary to do your own extraction, you can hire Critical Source to do that for you. They do have a pretty nice website, give you all the information you need, criticalsource.com. I think it's critical-source, actually, if you're interested. The first question from Critical Source is, what are the properties shared between pesticides and cannabinoids that cause them to extract similarly? And Dr. Volker is going to be talking a little bit more about this tonight. I saw a hand go up in the back. You still want to try this one? No? You already won one, didn't you? How about Josh in the back? Polarity's one. Is there another one? I'll take it. Polarity and molecular weight are 2 things that can cause pesticides to co-extract along with cannabinoids and terpenes. Josh, you've got a pint glass waiting for you at the OG Analytical table. Next trivia question is also from Critical Source. What is the byproduct of the CO2 extraction process, which must be removed from raw cannabis oil in order to make dabbable oils for vape pens? I'm looking for a CO2 byproduct. You already won one, Joshua. Water. This is another one that it's not my area of expertise, so another one to thank Critical Source for. What's that? Say that again? Oh, I was talking to the gal here. I thought she had something to say. Okay. What are the 3 main inactive ingredients removed from cannabis oil during the winterization process? The 3 main inactive ingredients removed from cannabis oil during the winterization process. Did you have an answer for me? No? Back here? I can't quite hear you. Can you speak up? Try a little louder for me. Nope. Main inactive ingredients removed from cannabis oil during the winterization process. What are we trying to get rid of when we extract? I'm hearing it. Raise a hand. Okay, I need a hand here. Who's talking at me? Okay, Mike. Wax is one of them. Anything else? Not quite what's on his list, but lipids is another one. Okay, I'm going to give a trivia prize to Mike and another trivia prize to Chris. We have one more. Emily, do you know? Plant waxes, lipids, and fats. That was a fun one. I think this is our last trivia question for the night, also from Critical Source. Which class of active ingredients, active this time, not inactive, which class of active ingredients found in cannabis oil is most at risk of degradation during the winterization process. What breaks down when you winterize cannabis? In the back. A little bit louder. That's correct. Terpenes. Terpenes are very volatile and they break down actually really quite easily, which is what makes them so efficient to analyze in Headspace. There's a pint glass for you there at the table. All right, thank you all so much for playing our Cannabis Science Pub Trivia. We'll have new questions based on the theme of the event every month.